we're going to continue our discussion of CSS. In the previous video, we started with the box model, and then we moved on to Flexbox, and we talked about how, we talked a little bit about float too along the way, but we talked about how Flex lets us arrange things on the screen, and then the box model gets to determine like how big they are and what area of the screen they're going to fill. Okay. So, and just for fun here, what I'd like to do is I'd like to apply flex to these things. So I like what I have here, but what I'd like to do is put them in the middle of the screen or maybe arrange them across the screen, right? So let's do a little bit of that just for fun. So I've got the footer here with these anchor tags that are, styled as kind of circles there. What if I apply flex to the footer? So I'll do, display flex here like this, and now you can see they're arranged. This is flex start, so everybody's off on the left side. But if I set justify content, I can say let's justify content center, and now they'll all be in the middle. If I want to space them out, across the page, then I could say let's do justify content, space around, and then it puts equal space on the left and the right side. Seems like there's more here, but half of the space belongs to this one and half of the space belongs to the one on the left, right? So you could do space between, and now the far left and far right go all the way to the ends. I still have a gap here because I applied some margin to each of these elements, okay? So anyway, so there's an example of using flex here, and you could use flex on anything, right? So we could use it to align the paragraphs into columns if we wanted, anything, right? So let's talk about taking the ideas that we've used so far and putting them all together. So the topic now is creating cards, okay? So a card is, it's a term, people use this, in web design, right? And, conceptually, like from like, I don't know, from like a conceptual point of view, a card is a block of related information that's pulled out from the rest of the page or separated from the rest of the page. It's delineated or noted that everything in the box goes together, but it's maybe not, it's related, but not part of the information around it. Okay. So, so that said, mechanically, what is a box? Well, or a card, right? A card is like a button, like mechanically, it might have some padding, some margin, might have a border, right? Just like you designed your button, except instead where the button has just text inside it, a card has a lot of child elements, right? So it'll have like maybe a picture and a heading and a paragraph of text and a list of links, right? Where your button's not going to have all that stuff in it. It's just going to say what the label is, right? Okay, so conceptually, a card is a group of related information that's pulled apart or separated from the things around it. Mechanically, what is it? It's basically like the button. So it's a container of some kind that's probably a block, and then maybe the elements inside the card are arranged with flex. Okay, so let's study cards just so we're super clear on what they are. I have a link here to the Web Awards, right? And this is just like, exploring cards, a trend in web design, right? So you can kind of scroll through here and see some cards, right? This is kind of like playing cards, right? This is kind of an abstract thing for a card. Here's some cards right here. This is more like, drawings or illustrations. But when we get into here, I start to have something that is useful, right? Like it's got a picture here, it's got some headings, it's got some subtext, it's got maybe a price in the upper corner, right? Okay, these are pretty arty, right? The cards here are very much like what I'm talking about, right? So it's got a picture at the top followed by a description, maybe some more information, and then like a link or something at the bottom. So in other words, like all of this stuff goes together. This information here probably describes the card or the image and who posted it or something like that, right? How many people liked it and how popular it was and when it was posted, things like that, and all of the stuff here relates to this picture, right? Like it all goes together, and it's similar to the things around it, but this card doesn't necessarily relate to the card here, right? So that's why we have a card, right? So the box here, the separation there, says that all this stuff goes together and it's not necessarily related to the things around it. Here's some more cards, right? So these are kind of cards that are designed to look like Polaroids or something, right? They have this bigger space at the bottom and the white border around the outside. It's got a picture, it's got some information, meta information about the image maybe, right? Okay. Here's some more cards. These are pretty designer, right? But you can scroll through this and take a look at the cards that people have designed here, okay? This is a pretty good one, right? It's got kind of a information on the left and a picture on the right, and then a little arrow here to show you that these go together. You can see too that the cards, usually they have something that separates them from the outside. Like here they have a border. On this one, there's a little, it's pretty subtle here, but there's a little bit of a shadow behind the box, right? They could have like a hard border, maybe they don't necessarily need a border, like there's no border here. This card is pretty straightforward. There isn't a whole lot to it. The design is very nice, right? It's got a picture in the middle, a background color, and then it has like the name of the thing, right? So this card is telling me I can go see pictures or I can see jars, right? These cards are the same way, right? So there's a little bit of a space around them that separates them from everything else, okay? So anyway, you can study cards. If we take a look at, one of the other libraries, like if I look at Bootstrap here, like Bootstrap, not Bootstrap, Bootstrap, let me go Google it, right? If I go to Bootstrap and I go to their docs, they actually have a class for cards too. Actually, this right here, this ad could be kind of like a card, right? Let's look up card here, cards, right? So Bootstrap has a style for cards. So there, if we boiled the card down to the minimum thing, like we would have a card here, right? It could have an image at the top, a title, a block of text, and a button, okay? It could just be a box with some text in it, right? Could be just text with a heading and then some links at the bottom, no picture, right? Could be a text with a description, or an image with a description, right? So, the card could be like a lot of things, right? But essentially, it's a group of things and the design is going to separate it from the things that are around it, okay? And, declare that these things are a group and they work together for some reason, okay? So anyway, let's talk about how we can make some cards, right? So we can look at the Zen Garden site and we can pick out some things here that might be good as cards, right? So actually, any one of these paragraphs right here might be a card. Actually, these all work together, so maybe this whole section could be a card, right? Benefits, actually benefits could be a good card, right? You could say benefits and then the paragraph, requirements, and then these three, right? Or 4 paragraphs, right? You could put the list of designs in a card. You could put the archived in a card if you wanted, right? And maybe those aren't super great choices, but we're just working in the context of the Zen Garden page, right? So let me let you do this, right? Because this video it's getting pretty long, so I don't want to get into a long topic on the end of this. But why don't you do this first? Discover cards, go into them, take a look at them, maybe look at some websites that you like and spot cards there, right? Go check out the Web Awards and look at the card design there. You can look at Bootstrap also, and then come back to the video, and in the next video, we'll make a card in the Zen Garden page, right? And that's going to actually be part of the homework for this week, okay? So thanks for watching, and and I'll see you again.